We are live from Hastings Beach and Buckingham Palace. I'm Karl and this is Izzy, and we're supposed to talk about ourselves. I'm 43, although you can tell from my physique that that's probably a lie. I could be 33. And I'm from England.
I would have guessed around 30 or 29, 30, something like that. Yeah.
You're just trying to chat me up so that I'm nice to you during the podcast.
Well, you do live in a very nice that room you're
I do live in a nice house.
Well, I'm at Hastings Beach, one of the most tropical paradises on earth. As you can see, it's a nice sunny day. It's a bit chilly, -10, but yeah, we have
-10 in July.
So this beach I'm at, you can see the pier in the back, the Hastings Pier. I grew up.
I can see the pier.
And I actually remember getting chased by bullies on this beach a few times. So yeah, good times.
Really?
Good memories.
I mean, it's a terrible beach to get chased on because the stones, they really hurt when you're running.
True.
On them.
Yeah.
Do you know why the stones? You could tell our viewers something interesting about the stones of the southern England beaches. Do you know why?
I do, but I'd love to hear you tell it.
Why?
Because I probably use the right vocabulary.
Okay. This is really simple because this part of England geographically is chalk based, and that means that where the land meets the sea is only chalk. There's actually no sand. You have to wait for a really low tide to have sand, and it's never going to be dry sand. So the government, to actually make a place that was kind of like viable for people to sit, they would have to concrete up to the water. And I don't, that's not really beachy, I think. So then the next plan was, okay, like we can bring a natural element, which was like the types of stones that you would just find on the seabed anyway, and kind of fashion that into like semi-natural beaches. So that's what they did. If the beaches weren't there, then it would just be a weird kind of chalk construction that would be impossible to sit on. So that's it.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Interesting. Thank you. I don't know if you've ever gone for a dip in the sea in the south of England, in these pebble beaches especially, but the water is kind of oily and greasy. When you leave the water, when you step out, you kind of feel like your body has, it's greasy. It's kind of like you have a lotion on your body. It's very different to the water here in Brazil, at least. And so that made me think, like, why is this pollution? I was afraid it was pollution, but no, it's because of the pebbles. It was because of the pebbles. They have this sort of, I don't know, chemical reaction. I don't know if that's even a thing, but yeah, it's caused by the pebbles. So the water is a bit oily.
Nice, yeah, good that you mentioned that. I have been swimming in the south of England many a time from my days when I lived in Brighton. Sometimes I would just go in if it was summer, but often I would run on the undersea cliff that goes from the marina to Rottingdean, if I'm not mistaken, and then just jump in. Once the body temperature was up from the jog, then I would just get in. It was the only way to cope with the cold, I have to say, because the water is cold.
Yeah,
and that's one of the things that I hate about England, I would have to say, is the cold water.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about things that we don't like about our own countries, and this is going to be interesting because I think it's even hard for us to say like which is my country, because how long have you been here in Brazil, Carl? 12 years?
Yeah, almost 13 years in the end of this August.
That's a long time, mate. I mean, you know, this is for the viewers.
Your look of disgust. It was almost like you were a meme, like looking at me
Like,
like I
what are
was
you doing
insane.
here?
Like
Why?
13 years.
Why? Why? Why are you wasting your time here? But anyway, I'm just joking. Obviously, Brazil is amazing, and it's an amazing country to be in. You've made your life here, basically, haven't you? I mean, so many things that you've conquered here. So yeah, I think that for us, like having lived abroad for a long time, for a huge part of my life, and for you also, sometimes it's hard for us to pinpoint exactly who we are and where we're from. I feel this way anyway. I have this very confused national identity. So this should be interesting. So he started off with not liking the the temperature, the water temperature. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess nobody does, right? I think people from Switzerland, people from Sweden, people from Norway, Finland, I guess, not Switzerland. These Scandinavian countries
Yeah,
where it's kind of normal to do the sauna, jump in the cold water thing,
yeah.
which I've never done, by the way. But from what I see from people talking about it, I watched an interview with it was it was
Welcome to Brazil.
Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas from the Mercedes Formula One team, like talking to each other at the beginning of the new season this year. And Lewis Hamilton said it freaked him out, the idea of doing it, but he did it and it was great. And I've seen other people say a kind of similar thing. They were afraid, but after doing it, it was great. But I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I
I
wouldn't.
don't. I much prefer the tropical. The idea of it makes more sense. You
Yeah,
know, hot water.
you know,
That's why we have a hot tap in England.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, we don't have that here, do we? I mean, only rich houses. They
I mean,
usually have. Yeah,
some places in the south have boilers, right, with like
they
a,
do.
a
Okay.
kind of hot water connection, electrical boilers.
Yeah.
You know, but
Well, we don't really need it
that's
though.
it.
From if you think about most of Brazil, is so hot all year round that you don't actually need uh, a hot water tap. And that brings me to one of the things that I actually love about Brazil, and I didn't particularly like about England. We talked about this very briefly in the previous episode, which is the weather. So I love the weather here in Brazil. Whilst most Brazilians they complain about how warm it is, and they don't like it, but I do. I love waking up and looking outside, and it's scorching hot weather. I love it. It puts me in a good mood. So that's one of the things that I like about Brazil, which has nothing to do with the topic because we're talking about things that we don't like.
I think if you put it into context, I mean, you know, in England you have a long winter and a short spring where anything can happen. It seems like, and then you have a kind of short summer or a non-existent summer or whatever that year kind of generally tends to throw at you. And I think that that first day that you see hot sunshine, the clocks have changed, so you kind of like have extra daylight hours and you see the sunlight beaming in through the curtains. That's a good day, and that contrast doesn't exist here.
Yeah,
But the waking up at, you know, let's imagine you just had the Christmas and New Year holiday and you're very lazy And then you wake up on the Monday morning. I think I mentioned this in the last podcast. You wake up on the Monday morning and you have mathematics in your first class, or you have to go to your job and it's raining and it's like 0 degrees. I mean, that sucks.
So you prefer the
That's
weather?
one other thing that yeah, because that's the thing that I hate about England is Monday morning. It's dark. And you have something to do that you don't want to, but society obligates you to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's precisely like how I feel. Like the weather here, it makes me energized. So I think it's what you said when you put it into context. Like Brazilians prefer, and they get energized in the winter, right? But maybe that's my tiny English Izzy trying to come out. I prefer looking outside and see that beautiful sunshine, and that just makes me really energized.
I never imagined your tiny English Izzy being that tiny, I have to say. I always thought that it was the English Izzy that was the kind of like karate kicking big Izzy. That I got confused now.
Well, I think it's kind of like a double personality. It comes out every now and then. You have a bigger presence of the English Izzy, and sometimes a bigger presence of the Brazilian Izzy. One of the things that I don't like about Brazil, which is my English Izzy side again, is I love rules, right? I love following rules. I think rules exist for a reason, to keep things organized, and but Brazilians have a hard time following rules in general, right? So, okay, just don't litter, don't throw rubbish out of your window. All right, how hard is that? But constantly, you're driving and the car in front just opens their window and just throws rubbish out the window, and that drives me crazy, right? And simple rules like don't cross the road if you have a red sign. Like just wait for a couple of seconds and then you can cross. But no, so these things really drive me crazy. The constant rule breaking, and it's not cool, right? It used to be when you're a teenager, it's cool to break rules, but later in life, I mean, when you're an adult, it's just pathetic to watch people break simple everyday rules.
Yeah. I think that a person who comes, like I did, from there and ends up living here for any period of time does go through a period where they feel that, because it's not just the types of rules that we understand like collectively as laws and kind of like um, things that anybody would know that you should or shouldn't do. But it's also those kind of social acceptance ideas where we kind of understand that to be a good citizen, you have to act in a certain way and do this and don't do this. One of my pet hates about this is drivers, basically. Especially here in Recife, you have a lot. I think in Brazil in general, you have a lot of places like this, but here in Recife, we do, where actually the pavement becomes the car park to a kind of gallery of shops with no kind of divergence or no barrier or no boundary between what's car park and what's pavement. So then the cars just leave the drivers leave the cars wherever they like, and they maneuver within that area however they like. And lots of times the car has kind of like backed into me or almost backed into me, and
Yeah.
quite often the English blood goes to my head and I'll like say some bad words in English. But obviously English is kind of chic, so sometimes when people don't understand, they just think that I'm
Wow.
saying good morning, like,
Wow. Could you
well,
say
hello
that
there.
again? Could you
But
say that
actually,
again?
actually, I'm like, beep,
Yeah, yeah, I get it. Yeah,
you know,
you're screaming at them, swearing at them, and they're like, "Wow, yes, hello." But
very
I completely agree with you. There's a general disregard for social life. There's a disregard for other people. There's something here in Brazil that I hate. And let me just make this clear quickly. I feel comfortable bashing Brazil because I'm Brazilian, okay, viewers? So if I was a foreigner, I would never bash Brazil because that's one of the social codes about Brazil. If you're Brazilian, you can bash on it, but if you're a foreigner, never speak ill about Brazil because that's just, a crime here. So myself, I'm allowed to do it. So here goes.
hence why I'm looking very fidgety.
Yes. But I give you permission. Go ahead. Say whatever you want. But
You give me permission, but the people who listen to this in the
yeah,
future, that's the point.
yeah, don't.
Because tomorrow or whenever it is that you post this, one person might listen and go, oh no, that's all right, but we know there's some social justice warriors, as you like to call them, in the world that might not like it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, I apologize. Anything that I say about Brazil is based on my almost 13 years of experience. And I think this amount of time, if I wanted to, I could apply for citizenship now and
Yeah,
then it would be okay. So what we're accepting is that a piece of paper from the
yeah.
government says it's okay if I bash Brazil. So I'm going to cut out the bureaucracy and just do it anyway.
Well, I think
Since
you pay your taxes, right? If you pay your taxes, mate, then here in Brazil, then you have every right to complain, right? And
Well,
you
I'm
have
not a very bureaucratic person, so
well, let me go
and
back.
I have what?
What?
I,
What?
you were gonna say I have a son who's Brazilian.
Yeah, and you have a son who's Brazilian, so you have every right to bash Brazil. We're gonna bash England one
Okay.
day. Don't worry, we're gonna have an England bashing event, a worldwide England bashing event. Well, going back to topic, getting back on track. There is something that we were mentioning just now, like following social codes and this general disregard for social life. There is something here in Brazil that absolutely drives me mad. Um, when a baby is about to be born here in Brazil, they do something, a baby shower. It's a baby shower, and because of the pandemic, they created what they call a shachiata. What is that exactly? Well, they have a baby shower in their cars. So they drive around the neighborhood honking their horns as loudly as possible. Just, I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense. I think they drive past someone's house to collect presents or something, or to deliver presents. But it's so annoying because it's loud. It completely disrespects their neighbors or other people. I mean, I think about children or people with some kind of condition. They shouldn't have to deal with this noise, which happens practically every Saturday because it's usually on a Saturday.
Lots of babies being born.
Well, yeah, pandemic.
Um,
Uh,
let me help. Let me help anybody who doesn't speak Portuguese to understand that because chá is tea, right? So I guess when you have these types of parties, there's always like chá D, which is like tea of something connected to whatever celebration it is, like the tea of the bride if the woman is getting married, or the tea of nappies, which are
yeah,
connected to babies if the woman is pregnant. So I guess shahiata is like the idea of like a little kind of get together of people doing what would that be? A procession
Yeah. Yes. Kind
connected
of
to the
like a
word
procession.
tea,
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
tea procession.
Yeah. Kind of like
Doesn't
that.
make sense when you translate it.
No.
I've just
But
realized
yeah,
in
well,
explaining it that,
it's like a baby
but yeah,
shower on the street. They just make a lot of noise, isn't it? I mean,
completely nonsensical. This brings me to
nonsense.
one thing that I don't like about Brazil
Hmm.
is the propensity towards using your horn in your car for anything.
Yes. Would that, if we're talking about this, I mean, both of our complaints here are related to noise. Can we come to a conclusion that in general, us Brazilians are very noisy? Not me. I'm not. But I must
Well,
sound
I'm not
really pretentious
Brazilian,
right
so
now.
I don't know if you were including me in that.
Well, you're a bit
Uh,
Brazilian already, so
yeah, well, I
um,
mean, I can be noisy, but I mean, I think it's Latin people in general have that kind of like it's a party thing. It's the idea of wanting to include the people around you into your joy. So there's something weird in that. Like if you looked at it from an anthropological kind of way, you could say that that's the idea of kind of togetherness
mhm,
in
mhm.
Latin people that wanting to create a party and get everyone involved. Carnival is more popular here than other places in the world where it is a celebration. Like
Yeah.
Pancake Day in England shows how subdued we are as a race.
Mhm.
But um,
Well,
yeah, I mean it sucks. And also car horns don't have syllables like language does. So if you say beep to a person, he really doesn't know why.
well, there is a code, right? If it's a long press, if it's a long press, then you're probably swearing at them. If it's a very two double very short honks, then you're saying hello, like beep beep. You're saying hello, right? But if it's a long
Okay.
one, then you're swearing at someone, right? And if it's
Okay,
just one,
I'm
a
putting you in
dictionary.
charge of creating a dictionary of car beeps so that you can help your fellow man to.
Mate, I'm gonna. That's $1 million idea, right there. Yeah. Well,
Okay, are you right? You're writing that down. Don't write it down. Just
I
remember it
am.
in your
I
brain.
am. So what you said is absolutely true. Brazilians want to include other people in what they're doing. So every Sunday morning, for example, I live in an apartment block, and every Sunday morning you always hear a neighbor listening to loud music, and it's like they expect you to join in and to have fun listening to the music they're listening to, right? Which I usually hate because but you don't often complain. That's something that we don't often do here in Brazil because you never know how the other person is going to react. But we'll get into that one in another topic in another video. Um, but I think
uh, I
this
have a piece of advice for you.
go on.
No, let you finish, and then I'll give you my piece of advice.
Right. So basically, I think that this uh, urge to include other people in what you're doing is also what makes Brazilians very friendly. And this is one of the things that I love about Brazil is that everywhere you go here, or 90% of the places where you go, you're going to be greeted with a smile, and people are going to be friendly with you, which is very different from my experience in many other places, right? Where sometimes you walk into a place, into a shop or something, and you say good morning, and people don't react. They just look at you and wait for you to order what you want. And here in Brazil, people are just so friendly. They are very welcoming, and they will greet you with a big smile. So that's one of the things that I think we can attribute to the fact that Brazilians want to include other people in their lives. Maybe because of Latino heritage. Would you agree with that?
I agree. People are nice. This brings me to one of my next things that I'm not a big fan of in Brazil, although this is a time sensitive issue. I've been here for a long time now. Once people know that, then it becomes less of an issue, and that's gringo pet. But I'm going to come back to that in a minute because I promised you a piece of advice. And this is you need to learn the words to these songs that these people are playing loudly, and then you just go to your balcony and sing along in a high voice, and they won't keep doing it.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I've never heard you sing, but
no, you don't want
you could be the next Voice Brazil. But let me get back to Gringo Pet.
Yeah.
This idea of people being all encompassing, and I totally agree with that. Brazilian people can be very nice and welcoming and kind of good humored and so on, and that's very cool. I agree with you 100%. But sometimes some of them, they take it a little bit too far in a very kind of nefarious way. Nefarious means like evil, and they kind of they treat you almost like you would be some kind of possession for a period of time that you will serve that purpose for them. And we know possessions are throwawayable. You can get rid of them as quickly as you can buy them or acquire them.
Yeah.
That's a strange feeling for me. That happened to me, more than one time. And why is it Gringo Pet? Because it's very funny. They kind of like. I didn't speak Portuguese when I lived in São Paulo that well. I speak it better now, obviously, because of time. But even if you did, I think that it still happens sometimes where it's kind of like you're just like out of the conversation, and the people look past you and they look at the person who brought you to this party or this gathering or whatever as kind of your handler. And it's like, oh, how old is he? It's like, oh, how old are you? 43. And they're like, 43? He doesn't look it. And you're like, I'm here. I know I don't. It's good genes, baby. And, this kind of like conversation triangle that you're trying to create doesn't exist. It's bilateral and not trilateral. And that's a very weird, that's the idea of Gringo Pet. You're all talked about, but not talked to. It's very strange. That's happened to me, by the way.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Yeah, I would imagine so.
I played at a party in Valinhos or Vinhedo. I don't remember. It was a very well-to-do party that I played at as a musician, and yeah, that really happened.
Yeah,
and it was kind of a strange experience.
Well, let me give you an account of what happened to me, and you let me know if this is the same thing as what you're talking about. I was filming the other day because I have a YouTube channel where I do vlogs about my life and my fiance's. And we were filming the other day, and I speak English in the vlog. So people automatically think I'm from the USA for some reason. Because another thing, if you speak English in Brazil, you're American. That's what they think. There's no other English-speaking country in the world besides America, right? So they think you're American.
Hence why I brought people to this lovely room in my house to remind them.
Yes, exactly. And I was speaking English, and we were at this street food stand, and the lady that was serving us, she looked at Bia and she asked Bia where I was from, but I was right in front of her. Like, you can talk to me. So I answered in Portuguese, and she was, oh, I thought you were American. But this happens constantly. Like when I'm speaking English, people don't directly speak to me; they speak to Bia. Is that what you're talking about? Is that the same thing?
Yeah, and I think that we have to give people the benefit of the doubt a lot of time. We have to say, like, okay, if they don't have any English, or if they have a bad level of English, or if their English is okay but they're afraid, or lots of people have different levels of psychology when it comes to how they treat that subject. So
Mhm.
I think that if they've only heard you speaking in English up until that point, then we kind of say, okay, maybe they were afraid to try, try to communicate. That depends on the person, and people are people. You can never judge them on that. But
Yeah,
when the person knows that you have enough Portuguese at least to do the salutations, if you like,
yeah.
then that's weird for me.
Last thing I want to mention, and I think you're going to agree with me. One of the things that I'm not going to use the word don't like, because it's more than that. It's almost hate, okay, is the lack of commitment with time. Like, people here don't respect the time. And let me tell you how I was brought up. I was brought up like, if you schedule something for 7 p.m., for example, right? And you arrive at 7 p.m., you're late. You're late. If you arrive at 7 p.m., you're late. You're on time if you arrive at least 5 minutes early, and you're on time. And if you arrive late, it's like you haven't even shown up. So to me, like, the lack of respect with time, the lack of commitment it really hurts me. As it hurts my being, How do you deal with that?
I deal with it by becoming it. But let me tell you first about England, because people talk about the English punctuality. Can I just say, if you can see my camera wobbling, it's because I've got the windows of this very fantastic room massive, and they're all open, so it's quite a windy day today.
Okay. Yeah, we can hear the
But
wind.
yeah, I remember a terror. All right, you can hear the wind in the microphone. That must be perfect
A little bit, not too
for
much.
everybody's ears. But I had a terrible boss in a job, and she one day I came. I think I was like a few minutes late. Like it was like 3 minutes past 8 or 4 minutes past 8, because just specifically that day the bus had a problem. I think there was a new set of roadworks, and it was the first time, and the bus just like got stuck. And my boss was already like kind of checking her watch, and it was like, oh yeah, sorry, the bus had a problem that never happens normally today. And she was like, well, you know what to do tomorrow then. And that was the only. So the next day I had to basically wake up much earlier, catch a bus much earlier, and arrived in my job at like half an hour early, just to make sure that I wasn't 3 minutes late. So your job would much prefer you to lose half an hour of your personal time than to use 3 minutes of the job time. That's what I'm talking about when people say English or British punctuality.
That was in England.
Here, I went on a date in Sao Paulo, and the girl kind of like called me from the. Well, she didn't call me. That's a lie. She sent me a text message when she was already like half an hour late, and I was already kind of like, oh, I'm gonna go, and she was like, no, I'm definitely coming. Wait, I promise. And it was like, okay. So I was in a shopping center, so I was kind of hanging out and looking around. Okay, drank a coffee. I don't even remember what I did, but I remember that she was more than an hour late. And
Whoa.
during that hour, she was kind of constantly text messaging me to say that she was definitely coming, that I should wait. So I kind of took it like, okay, maybe she had a problem. But that was my first dip into the
Yeah.
cool, breezy waters of Brazilian timekeeping, and it's never really got any better since. So I found out that the best way was, if you can't beat them, join them. So I do arrive late sometimes now, and people always remind me of British punctuality. So I take that moment to remind them of Recife time, I call it, but I mean, I guess it's Brazilian
It
time.
is brilliant.
And we just kind of agree to meet in the middle.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's
Well,
that.
there's a meme here in Brazil, like there's this person getting ready to go out. He's got something scheduled for 7 p.m., for example, and they get up to start getting ready at 7 p.m., right? So like, oh, this is I have a meeting at 7, this is me at 7, and then they're starting to get ready at 7. And it's a meme here. But it's just not funny. To me, it's offensive. It's not funny. Like, if you arrange something with someone at 7, for example, you get there at 7. Don't make me wait. And I oh gosh, I get really pissed off. I get really angry, and I have to deal with this because this is Brazilians are not going to change. Um, but with my classes, it's hard. So what I do sometimes, not anymore because I'm mature now, and but I used to be a hellraiser in class. So like 5 minutes after the class had started, I would lock the door. Like, you're not coming in,
Ah,
not coming in. Oh, but I'm paying. I don't care. I can give you back your money. You're not coming in late. Nowadays, I'm different. I usually let them in. I say, okay, just sit down, do whatever you want. I speak English already. You're the one who needs to learn. So if you don't understand that, and if you think you can come in late every week, then that's your problem, not mine. But yeah, it's to me, it's offensive. I'm very
agreed.
touchy.
Just as a kind of, just as an extra to that, I did know a person here who was always late to meet people, like to meet friends when they were going out for a drink or whatever. And the friends used to call because they knew what she was like. So I saw this one time with my own eyes. She was obviously not ready to go to meet the friends, and the time was already past that she should be there.
Oh God.
And she was like, "No, no, I'm at the bus stop on already." And I was like, "Well, that's a lie. You're not at the bus stop." And she went up to the window of her bedroom, which was quite big, and stood at the window trying to capture the sounds from
Oh
outside on her
no.
cell phone to give weight to the lie that she was at the bus stop.
Oh man, that's just oh gosh, man, that's just horrible. Yeah, but that's
This
that,
is
that's more
extra
common.
level being late.
Well, there is a saying in Brazil. Brazil isn't for amateurs, right? There's a saying here that
No,
Brazil
no, it's definitely not.
Brazil
I
isn't.
can agree with that.
It's not. Well, guys, I think that's
No.
all we have time for this topic.
Yeah, from Buckingham Palace.
From
Uh,
the Pebble Beach in
until the next time. I'm Yeah, what are you gonna do now? Because if you're at Hastings Beach, I'm guessing, what have you got planned? Like a seafront
I think
cafe restaurant
I'm
for
gonna take a
some fish
stroll.
and chips?
I'm gonna take a stroll up the East Hill. Uh, get me
Ah,
some
okay.
chips, yeah, and just sit down and watch the sunset, which what now is 3 p.m.
Which it would be
Possibly in
doing
about
in about 5 hours. That's going to be a bit of a wait, but
5 minutes.
okay. I mean, I would take the lift up East Hill if,
Oh
but I
yeah.
mean, I'm lazier than you, I guess. That's why you're a black belt in karate,
Well,
and I'm a black
I
belt
don't
in PlayStation 4.
I don't think the problem is being cheap or not. It's actually having to pay in pounds. That's the problem. It and the lift is
Good
about
point.
I think it's about £12, I think. Is that it? No, I'm not sure. £4? I'm not sure. But either
Really?
way, it's too
Twelve
much for us
pounds?
Brazilians. I think it's £4, I think.
It's too much. It's too much for the amount of time you spend in it, because what it's like, they make it go extra slow to make you feel like you're getting your value for money, I'm sure, because it's like, what, 100 meters.
It is, yeah, but it's a Victorian
But you
lift.
know,
It's a Victorian lift. It's worth it.
and the cycle comes back to the Queen always.
Always
So on
does.
that note, I'm gonna go and have lunch with mine, Elizabeth too. I think
Right, mate.
we've got poached salmon on the menu.
Oh, say hello to Lizzie for me. Say hello to Lizzie. Tell her that Izzy
I will.
misses her very much.
From Izzy
Hello
to Lizzie. No pun.
Right, mate. Thank you so much for today. Thank you, viewers. I hope you've enjoyed it. See you next time. Bye-bye.